Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a truly fascinating premise from our source material. I mean, just look around at our modern world. We've got supercomputers in our pockets, we've mapped the human genome, we are literally launching rockets into deep space. Materially speaking, humanity has absolutely reached full-blown adulthood. But spiritually? Well, we're kind of still acting like rebellious, stubborn teenagers. So let's explore how this profound imbalance is really shaping our world right now, and more importantly, how we can actually grow out of it.
So here's the big question. Why is our technology so incredibly advanced, yet our society just seems stuck in this constant, messy state of turmoil? Well, to diagnose this modern quagmire, the text takes a step back and looks at macro-level human history through a pretty brilliant extended metaphor. It compares our collective development to the way a single individual grows up. And honestly, it's a perspective that might completely change how you interpret the daily news.
The source introduces this powerful framework, suggesting that absolutely all human progress, whether we're talking about physical achievements or spiritual growth, has to pass sequentially through three distinct periods. 1. Imitation. 2. Understanding. And 3. Utilization. We literally cannot skip a step. So to figure out exactly where we went off the rails, let's briskly break down what's supposed to happen in each of these phases.
Okay, during the first stage, which parallels childhood, roughly from ages 2 to 14, we basically just imitate. Think about how a young kid learns to navigate the world. We copy nature, we copy our parents, and we happily follow all the do's and don'ts handed down to us. Why? Because we completely trust the authorities guiding us, or, we just do it out of love, respect, and obedience. We aren't really questioning the rules yet. We're just safely existing within them and learning the ropes. But then, everything shifts. As we hit adolescence, usually between 14 and 22, our consciousness wakes up. Suddenly, simply following the rules just because isn't going to cut it anymore. During this period of understanding, we start asking the big questions. We either seek a deeper knowledge of why the rules exist from knowledgeable guides, or, and this is where the trouble really starts, we rebel. We drop the advice entirely based on our own incomplete thinking, assuming we automatically know better. Assuming we get past that, we reach the adult stage. The period of conscious utilization begins around age 24. This is where a truly mature person stops fighting the rules just for the sake of rebellion. Instead, they learn to understand and actually harness the underlying laws of creation. Rather than fighting reality, we guide the mechanisms of the world to foster true, meaningful upbuilding, both physically and spiritually. It's really all about mastery and harmony. That's the ultimate goal we're striving for. Now, when we contrast these three stages of growth against our actual reality, a really stark divergence emerges. The source highlights this massive contrast. We've seen immense success in mastering material laws, but a near-total failure to grasp spiritual ones at an adult level. So on one track, we've advanced beautifully, but on the other, we are completely stalled out. Let's look a little closer at how this divergence actually played out in history. Materially, our teenage curiosity absolutely paid off. Take agriculture, for example. We questioned things, we observed deeply, and we learned the intricate secrets of soil types, weather patterns, wind, and water. And then we used that awakened curiosity to massively improve our farming techniques. We successfully moved from just imitating nature to a period of deep understanding that completely transformed our physical world. Conversely, look at our spiritual trajectory. In our collective spiritual adolescence, our awakening consciousness led us to question the golden rules of the past. But instead of seeking to understand their deep functional value, which, by the way, was intended to safely restrain our dangerous emotional impulses, we just arrogantly abandoned them. We threw them out to blindly follow our own intellect. And the text argues this directly triggered the steadily increasing social crises and strife we see everywhere today. So the crucial point really comes down to this massive, glaring imbalance. On the material side, we're adults. We're experimenting with advanced plant genetic engineering. We're building massive climate control systems. But spiritually, we are totally stunted. Literally, no society has matured enough to factor the working principles of creation into their laws or administration. The result is the rampant ethical, health, and environmental crises we're living through. Our material successes just aren't being guided by any kind of inner spiritual maturity. To fix this incredibly dangerous imbalance, the text points to a missing link, drawing upon concepts from a book called In the Light of Truth. The proposed solution is acquiring a working knowledge of three unseen spiritual laws: the law of homogeneity and intensification, the law of gravity, and the law of reciprocal action. Now, these aren't just abstract philosophical ideas. The source presents them as absolute mechanisms that continuously weave our destiny based on the energy of our thoughts and actions. Let's quickly break them down. Let's look at the first one, the law of homogeneity and intensification. Think of this exactly like a bundle of lighted kindling catching fire. It dictates that your spiritual energy, whether it's noble or, well, not so noble, automatically attracts similar energies from others. So a seemingly weak, private negative trait can connect with corresponding unseen power centers and suddenly intensify. It becomes an overwhelming collective force. It's basically the ultimate amplifier of our inner state. Next up, we have the law of gravity, but applied to unseen spiritual energy. According to the text, negative emotions create energy that is literally heavy and dense. Positive energy, by contrast, is light and buoyant. So in a dense, ethereal environment created by collective negativity, it becomes incredibly difficult to sustain noble emotions. This heavy atmosphere literally blocks higher, lighter inspiration from getting through, dragging society down into this continuous downward spiral. We are quite literally weighing ourselves down. Finally, there's the law of reciprocal action. This law ensures an absolute closed-loop system. We inevitably experience the exact effects of the spiritual seeds we sow. Sowing negative energy ties us to those dense, ethereal regions, inviting constant bombardment that can manifest as deep paranoia or even physical attacks. But hey, the flip side is incredibly hopeful. Sowing noble energy naturally connects us to light, uplifting power centers, resulting in this inexplicable, radiant feeling of joyfulness. Understanding these unseen laws completely flips how we view the future of humanity. Longing for a utopia isn't naive or unrealistic at all. It's actually just the natural, mechanical result of a society that has finally graduated from its spiritual teenage years. A true utopia emerges automatically when we reach a level of maturity where we voluntarily adhere to the golden rules. Not out of blind obedience, but because we finally understand they are literally the operating manual for a happy, light environment. As the source reminds us with this powerful quote, true progressive development can only occur when spiritual consciousness takes the lead in our continuing development. Intellectual and material advancements, no matter how technologically dazzling they are, will ultimately fail us if they're pursued entirely independent of our spiritual maturity. We simply cannot allow our development to be led solely by cold intellect anymore. It just lacks the necessary restraint to lead all on its own. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to take away. What is our next move as a society and as individuals? Will we accept that we still have a whole lot of growing up to do and finally choose to learn and align with these laws of creation? Or are we just going to stubbornly maintain our spiritual rebellion, clinging to our intellectual arrogance while the world around us deteriorates? The blueprint for true adulthood is right in front of us, but the choice to follow it? Well, that's entirely ours.